Thanks for staying with us. Now, self-development plans don't have to be huge or cumbersome, but they do have to have structure so that you can clearly see where you want to go, how you're going to get there, and when you have achieved what you have set out to achieve. Now, having a plan will help to provide clarity around your thoughts and will enable you to be intentional about where you are going. Now, seeing the result as you work through the plan will also help in increasing your self-awareness and self-belief, which in turn will support your continued future growth. The concept of self-growth for personal development and growth, whether achieved as formal or informal processes at an individual level or throughout an institution's culture, forms the basic foundation of one's way of being. Since each individual is different with divergent life goals, the concept of self-growth can be liberating yet challenging. So what are your plans for 2022? And how deliberate are you of your personal growth as we approach a new year? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I'm going to bring in Dr. Harry in a minute, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts. Mani and Isi, what are your plans for 2022? Have you started drawing out the map? Because it's always easy for us to write New Year resolutions that we never, ever achieve.
After the second week of January, we just fall off.
So what are your plans? And how deliberate are you when it comes to personal growth? Do you pay attention? Do you invest?
Yes, I pay
in
attention.
yourself?
There's always something to improve. That's what I believe. The human potential is limitless. So you don't ever get to a point of no growth. So you continue growing. So for me, I'm a sucker for knowledge, for self-growth and development. So I'm always looking for something to do. Either I'm doing a new course, or I'm reading a new book, or I'm just thinking of new big ideas, or writing. Yeah, so for me, it's just progressive. Always. So I have very big plans for 2022, but I'm not saying anything on TV.
That's fine. It's understandable. How about you, Isi?
For me, basically, I would say one thing. Last year when I started on the show, we talked about, when I said I'll be more intentional this year. Believe me, I have been more intentional this year.
Awesome.
And more deliberate in my activities compared to how I was previously. And for that, I would say I'm so thankful for ways. Because, like I said,
nice.
yes, that it has actually made a total shift in my dealings, in my thoughts, in my perspective. And it's all about, being progressive in your in your dealings. Growth is crucial and personal development is crucial, because before I thought, being intentional, being deliberate, what are these people saying? But now I know. Yeah. So I think it's
all
crucial.
About mindfulness.
Yes, yeah. Mindset, mind growth, mind shift.
It's interesting. Part of my plans for 2022, because it's something that I have always wanted to do. Yeah. But I just realized it again. It just reiterated the fact that your network is very important in terms of, if you say personal growth, personal development. So for me, I'm very intentional about the kind of people I allow in my circle. Yeah. Very intentional. I have learned to. It's okay to actually avoid some people.
Oh yes.
It's okay to say, you know what, this is not going anywhere.
Because they have fillers and they have drainers.
Yes, drainers, I don't want them anymore. So you need to be very careful and be mindful of the energy people bring. You know why? The economy in Nigeria is going to get, I don't know, I don't want to be the preacher of doom, but we saw what 2020 brought us to this 2021 in terms of the toughness of the economy and everything. So you need to be very careful around what you filter into your space, your mind space, your environment and all of that. So for me, I started it this year, midway this year. I started being deliberate about the kind of people that came close to me, and I'm even taking it further down
in 2022
because I realized that it actually changed a lot of things, even in the way I dream. Because I am one that dreams really big. But you see, I don't need anybody that will try to to crush that dream around me.
You don't need any naysayer.
Nah, I don't need it. I don't need it. So I just realized that for personal growth, you actually, if you are not taking deliberate steps, you are just wasting your time.
Total waste
You're
of
wasting
time.
your time, because
Total
even
waste.
if you do all the readings, you do everything, you understand, certain little elements that you do not think that are important, they're very crucial, and it can actually
So you know what's important also? Evaluation.
oh yes,
So you have
As
to
this-
also
as-
check
yes.
your steps. How far have I come? What am I doing? Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to bring in our guest now, Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin. In the first 2 decades of his adult life, became a trained medical doctor, then went on to develop businesses spanning multiple countries. Over the last decade, he has used his experience to train, coach, and mentor individuals to achieve high levels of success in different aspects of their lives. He currently, his current main area of focus is to help individuals to re-engineer their thoughts, processes, oh I didn't know that, towards the transformation of their lives, resulting in people experiencing greater prosperity. Oh, I need you in my life. Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin has a mission to participate in developing a world that works for everyone. This will be really perfect. And he's joined us live in studio. Thank you so much, Dr. Harry.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very grateful for the privilege to be here.
Yeah, we're honored to have you here. So, Dr. Harry, you had all our chit chat and our banter about personal growth and development, and I think when I had that call with you, and you know, because it's very interesting what is happening globally, you know, in terms of the economy, in terms of the changes that's happened, what COVID has brought, a lot of innovations. At the same time, a lot of people are also scared to take certain kinds of leap when it comes to personal growth and, you know, changing their narrative and being deliberate about it. You know, so if you were to, you know, first of all, go back to, let's piggyback to 2020, you know, what would you say would have been the most important attribute you needed to have in terms of growth as a person? If you piggyback to what has happened 2020 up until today, what do you think would have been the most crucial attribute you must have for personal growth?
Well, the first attribute that we need is desire. You have to desire to grow, because personal growth is not by bumping yourself against the wall or bumping up into someone who is already well developed. As you have all shared, it's really intentional actions that you have to take going into 2022 that will result in changes. The personal growth is sometimes misunderstood because a lot of people hear the word personal growth and development and they just run to seminars or they buy books or they try to go to every particular program they could find themselves involved in, which are useful, they're good, but we always hear Happy New Year, right? Everybody's going to tell everybody that come December 31st. But the issue is that nobody's going to have a new year who doesn't have a new you. So we have to first have a new individual to have a new year. So your new year could start literally anytime you decide to, because it begins with a new set of actions. There have to be first some insights and some breakthroughs and beliefs and perspectives and points of view. And with that happening, that could become the open doorway for you to take a new set of actions. Because if you repeat all the actions you did over the last year, you're going to have the same results or probably worse results than you did this year, because next year is predicted to be more challenging.
True.
So if you don't grow in anticipation of a more challenging year, you will regress because there are things happening around us that we're probably not prepared for. So, to go back to that is the desire, right? You have to first desire to grow. And then if you desire to grow, once the desire, a why, desire comes back to what's the reason why you need to grow. And then when that becomes clear, then the how to grow will start to fall into place in terms of books that we'll start to get attracted to, in terms of making some changes in an area that is probably the most important area, because you mentioned it, right? If I was to ask you this question, if you keep hanging out with 5 broke people,
I'll be the 6th one.
And another way to say it, if you keep hanging out with 5 very successful people,
You'll be the 6th.
yeah, so it's pretty, if you understand that, in the next 18 to 24 months, take inventory today of the people that you're hanging around with. Very important, very critical. The second thing are the books that you're reading, what is in your library. And the third is what are you listening to and what are you viewing.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for the content that you guys have here and the discussion, because you're seeking to raise the level of consciousness in the society, which is very important.
Yeah, it's very key for us. It's our mission.
Yes.
Consciousness precedes forms.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going? Or
Yeah.
should I go?
Okay. No, you can go.
Okay, so it's interesting what you've said so far, and I want to comprehend. You've talked about the desire to grow, which is crucial, but what about the individual setting deadlines? You know, sometimes we say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but there are no deadlines. So what's the role of deadline for personal growth?
It's very important. For example, going into 2022, let's just give people some practical, simple things that they could do.
Absolutely.
We need to have goals, all right? Because goals aren't just goals like wishes. I wanna do this next year. We need to have goals in different areas of our lives. We need to have goals in our spiritual life. We need to have goals in our physical person, our body. We need to have goals in our relationships with those who are closest to us, goals in our community, and goals in our business. So in each of those areas, one should have a goal book. Most people do not have one. The most successful people in the world, just use Bill Gates as an example. He has 7,000 written goals.
Wow.
7,000.
That's the last time I got that.
The count. The last time you counted.
Right?
7,000.
So it's probably more by now. Someone who mentored me, he became, he led a $3 billion organization to success, and many people became very successful. He had 4,000 in his book. So I picked that up from a training. Oh, you know what, written goals is so important. In fact, goal setting is a spiritual law. A lot of people don't even know that. It's one of the 4 spiritual laws of permanent prosperity.
Wow.
So you need a book that is your goal book. And then you write down goals in those areas that I mentioned. And goals need a date. So the date holds you accountable, because you have to have a date. I'm going to buy a car next year. So by June, I want to have a Mercedes, or I want to put my children in this school, or I need to go on vacation, or I need to go to this other country for a trip. Whatever the goal is, we need to have dates. Then you hit the date, you haven't hit your goal. That's fine. Because a lot of people don't want to put a date because they're worried that they won't hit the goal. You just simply push the date forward until the goal is accomplished.
Isn't that procrastination?
No, because here's what happens. If you're procrastinating, when the time comes and you look at your book, you'll know.
Yeah, but if you're working towards it,
You would have known that, oh, what did I do in that area? Because here's the purpose of writing them down. It helps you to keep yourself accountable. If you go back to it next year, December or November, and look at the book, then you'd have been able to see which goals you didn't take any action steps towards. And it helps to keep you accountable. You could also have an accountability partner, someone that you trust, that you could share these goals with, and ask that person to help you to keep yourself accountable to the goals. So that's how you actually make progress towards it, not just have ideas and thoughts about what you'd like to do next year, but we need to have a book, and we need to write it down. A goal book.
interesting.
GOALS. Go out and live successfully. Goals.
Oh, go out and live successfully. I like that. Okay, so what does self-identity have to do with self-improvement?
Everything. We have a crisis, right? We have an identity crisis.
Yeah.
That's the crux of all the entire bane of human experience.
Yes.
So we have misidentified ourselves from describing it as Adam and Eve. And the identity crisis is that people believe they're merely humans, right? Individuals have that handed down to us generations all the way down to now. And that identity issue is what we are in the process of solving. So those of us who have been able to recognize this issue have been able to make an inner correction. It's a perception issue. So we perceive ourselves incorrectly, but that incorrect perception of ourselves, once we correctly perceive ourselves, a healing process begins from an inside out level. Now, identity is, let me use an example of something, so we don't sound like we're too out there,
Okay.
right? Let's look at something as simple as I'm Nigerian,
Yeah.
all right? And somebody feels really proud that they're Nigerian. That's fine as an identity, but it is an identity, it is a national identity. And then you could say, oh, I'm a Christian. That's another identity. I'm a Muslim. That's another identity. But where did we get the identities from? We got them from the surroundings and the culture around us.
Yeah.
If you were born in India, what would your identity be? You were
Yeah.
Hindu.
So we were sold this
So-
identity.
So your identity is based on parental,
yeah.
culture, all of these other factors. So when you work your way back from these and you finally get to, if I was to say, like I was speaking to a group, I was invited to a university to speak at a religious conference. And I had everybody say, okay, because everybody was like, some people were there from an African religion. And I said, okay, say I am, and you guys could maybe say, let's just use it. I am your name. Just the three of us together, the four of us together.
I am
I
Osayome.
am
I'm
Ify
Harry. All right, let's say after three. 1, 2, 3.
I am Osayome.
Fodele.
So I have 4 different. Okay. All right. So let's drop our names after 3. 1, 2, 3.
I
I
am.
am magnificent.
And that's an attribute, right?
Yes.
That's not. And then let's go again. I am.
I'm Babe.
All right. So you see, we could put something after the I am, but those are predicates. All of us are
Yeah.
the I am at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that is where we got lost in the predicates. I am this. I am that. I am doing this. And we get caught up in all these roles, and it causes conflict
Wow.
because of the misidentification of the truth of who we are. So we're in that Renaissance season right now where a lot of people are waking up and becoming aware of the error that, hey, doesn't matter which part of the planet you're born on.
Yes.
We're all coming
think
from the
so.
same creator in life, which is just coming from one. So as more people realize this, so it removes the sense of, these other smaller things that we sometimes become so fluxed up about and fuss about, and so.
So hence the quote, "Man, know thyself," by the Athenian philosopher Socrates.
Yeah, very, very.
I like that.
Very. In fact, there's a statement, know thyself,
Self.
I was Seaton. It was written over the Greek temples, right?
Oh,
So when
yes.
you're going in there, know thyself.
Yeah,
so
I
you
like-
come
I
to
like
know the
Socrates.
truth about oneself.
Who
And
you
as-
are.
I want to
Yeah.
I want to stay a bit on this identity matter, but you know what? Let's take a very short break. Yeah, we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having an amazing chat with Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin on taking deliberate steps towards personal growth in 2022. Now, let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. So this identity thing I think is one of the biggest challenges that we have as, I don't know whether it's, well, let me stick to Africa. Especially when it comes to religion, it just completely changes the dynamics. We're talking about, where I went to over the weekend and all of that, how people, sometimes it seems like maybe, is it that I'm not in need of things, that's why I'm not praying for those kind of things, but I just believe that it's a lot deeper than this. And if we can get to that point where we have this awareness, a lot of things would naturally just grow in our lives. So how do we get to that point of that self-awareness?
All right, so very good question, though. Thank you very much. All right, so self-awareness is becoming aware of our true nature. There are some practices that are really key. There are 7 of them that I teach, and I practice them myself over the years. I learned them, put them into practice, matured into self-awareness, became aware of the true self, right? Or all of us have a true self and a false self. Practices. It's practice. It comes down to practice. One key area is sacred fellowship. Who are the people that you hang out with when it comes to your spirituality? if you hang out in a low consciousness environment, it's very difficult to become self-aware. Because a lot of people who hang out in a low conscious environment, they think in victim terms. So they see life as happening to them.
Yeah.
So if you stick with a group of people who are always blaming and pointing and shaming and guilt, it's difficult to grow into self-awareness because the environment you're surrounding yourself with is a challenge. So you have to then assess if you're really interested in self-awareness and the benefits are profound. You have to really choose carefully where you're going to fellowship. And then selfless service is beautiful because it takes your attention off of you.
Yes.
And then you go out into feeding. I've myself and some of those I've mentored, we have given away 5,000 meals in the streets of Lagos. So when you go into the streets and you see people from their perspective and what they're dealing with and stuff, it takes your attention off these little stuff, and you start to become more connected to the true self, which is in all of us. Then the next area is life visioning. Now, life visioning is where you start through meditation. You get to the point of asking from inner guidance. So you're seeking to be guided from within. So you're not now looking to be guided from me or from your teacher or whoever it is that you may have to help you. You're going within to seek guidance, and you're practicing to the point where you maybe some trial and error. You think you heard, didn't hear right, until you figure it out, right? Like a baby learning how to walk. And then the other area is high-minded conversations. Meaning we're having one, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned choosing very carefully who you have those conversations with, so that you don't have dreams and aspirations and people are pouring cold water
Talk down.
and are trying to discourage you from taking action steps towards your success. So that's high-minded conversations. And the next area now is spiritual study. You have to have a set of material that is going to help you to become self-aware. And generally, by the time you become interested in that, you're going to start attracting the books.
Right material.
Yeah, the books.
Yes.
You're going to start looking for them.
So
You see authors here and this and that. And the next area now is affirmative prayer, affirmative statements, because people misunderstand prayer. There are two orientations to prayer. There's praying to our Creator, which, but you really should pray from your Creator, not to. And when you pray from the Creator, because everything has been given to us, the Creator is nestled within our heart and soul. So what happens is that the words that emanate from our mouth, regardless of whether they're affirmative or they're negative, they will have the tendency to materialize in our life.
this is powerful.
Very.
You see me jotting down notes.
This is powerful.
What we need to do is to
Amazing.
speak affirmatively, all right? So which is praying, because speaking and praying is the same thing. But people misunderstand prayer like this is prayer, Yeah, that's a form of prayer, but the most important prayer are the words falling from your tongue.
Wow.
All right? So that gives you a sense of responsibility that you have to clean up your language. So you don't blame because it's you that spoke this nonsense into your life experience. And we really experience our descriptions.
True.
So the events in our life are events. When my driver crashed the car one night and I went to see the car, somebody called me and asked me, "Harry, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing amazing and grateful." You would know that the car was in a light pole, the back was up. And I had a conference call to do because he was calling me about the conference call. And I said, okay, no wahala, right?
Yes.
Right? I said, jump on the conference call. I would rock the conference call while the driver was trying to get the tow truck and all of that stuff happening over there. Because every event is your description determines your experience.
True.
All right.
So it's all about your
Perception.
perception and reaction response, not your reaction.
Right.
Well said.
So and your ability to choose to respond versus react is determined by your level of self-awareness.
Yes.
Wow.
I agree.
Awesome. So if I may take
lastly.
your
Lastly.
words.
And the most
Lastly,
important one.
yeah.
Okay.
If you do this one and you don't do the other 6, you're good.
Please say it.
So which one?
All right, this one.
Speak, please.
Silent meditation.
Do you know, I was going to ask you, what is the place of meditation in all of this?
Silent meditation. Shuffle the word silent, you'll hear listen. You'll see listen. Now meditation, that word, I love that word. There are two ways I see the word. And you could write it down as an acronym because it's in this book. Right? Meditation. Meeting eternity. All right, well, before you get to meeting eternity, you have to do some stuff first. Moving experiential debris, inhibiting their abundant, transcendental, infinite, omnipotent nature. So each of us have an infinite, omnipotent nature because we're created in the image and likeness of
God.
So we have that nature.
Yeah.
But it's overlaid by a lot of debris that came from the experiences we've had here before.
Yes.
So meditation, what it does, it becomes a spa treatment that cleanses and starts to dissolve and disintegrate a lot of the thought processes that we inherited, either through our parents or culture or whatever.
Or experience, whatever.
Whatever experience. So if you're not meditating, what you're doing is that slough is just blocking clogging your
mindset.
perceptual window that you're trying to look through.
Your lens.
And you're looking through the thoughts that are bubbling up in your awareness. And the quality of the thoughts bubbling up in your awareness is dependent on how narrow the bandwidth of your awareness is. So if you're not meditating, you're not dissolving that stuff. You're not cleaning the window. You're just seeing through the thoughts that are...
So even if you practice the first 5 or the first 6, you said, and you do not practice this,
You're in trouble,
you're
man.
still going to be looking at life through the clogged lenses.
Perception.
Meditation, 1 millisecond of a breakthrough of touching eternity is the equivalent to 10 years of spiritual study.
Wow.
So you're better off investing your time
Learning.
in practicing to touch eternity by going within, shutting out the outside. Even if it's for a minute a day, and then you gradually expand it over time.
I was going to say that because there is...
And I'll give you one more acronym before we...
okay.
I
No, I was going to just say, sticking to meditation, because I find it very difficult to... Because sometimes we have 1,000,001 thoughts running through our minds. And I know I'm not alone in this, because especially if you live in Lagos, the life here is crazy. So how are you able to shut out the world and go within? You know, what do you need to do?
All right, so firstly, you know, a lot of people ask how to meditate, which is the ego's question, because it's only the ego that knows how, right? Meditation is, if you understand what meditation is, then the how will become easier, because there's so many different ways to approach meditation. So what it is meeting eternity, is contacting, touching eternity. That's what it is, without distractions. So when you're sitting down, it's not to force yourself for thoughts to stop, because thoughts are not being generated by us. They're self-generated, all right? If you're thinking right now while I'm talking.
Of course.
So you can't stop them.
Consciousness.
So thoughts are just like popping up out of a pool, right? So you don't get caught up in that. Eventually you learn to bracket them, put them to the side. And as you have them over here, then you'll be able to have milliseconds. First, it's very, 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 very slim, because you just need just a little contact. Now I know what eternity is, right? And once you touch
Baby steps.
yes, once you touch that nature within you, then you've known. This is not something we could teach in a book. Somebody cannot explain it to you in a conversation. It's a direct encounter that you have to have. And you have to desire it more than a man whose head is on fire and he's looking for water to put it out. So if you don't have that level of desire for that contact, it doesn't open up to you, right? So in terms of what it is that contact. In terms of how, whatever method becomes comfortable, but ultimately closing your eyes, pulling away from the children, the whatever, just take some time in the morning. And I advise you do it before you do everything else. So you meet God first.
You wake up early.
And jump into that before you do the rest of the stuff.
There was another
I have a
acronym.
challenge with this. I have a mad challenge with this, because majority of us Nigerians, or those of us, especially those of us in Lagos, we do not have that luxury of, you know, waking up in the morning and having to
But he has not told you to do 10 hours. Oh.
No.
And you know, you talked about
somewhere.
intentional living.
Yes,
so you can't say that.
I'm going somewhere. I'm looking at it from the perspective of the general Nigerian.
Okay.
So we will not have that kind of, time.
No, you think
to
you would not?
We will not have that kind of time to do something. Now, if you want to give us practical steps to, work with, and not give us the meditation.
I understand you. I understand you very well.
How do we go about it?
All right, so let's first understand time. How many hours are in a day?
24.
So we can't get more. So that's a given. Now, none of us here have more time than the other.
Absolutely.
So what we do with the time
That's what matters.
is determined by our priorities. So you have to then decide how important it is to become self-aware. What are the benefits? I'll tell you, you'll have a piece that your driver will crash your car and it doesn't make you upset. You'll have a piece that even if you do not have money in your bank account, you're not depressed. You become like Teflon in a pot where you cook and then nothing sticks.
Yes.
That's how you become. So stuff comes your way,
And
but
goes.
nothing sticks.
Wow.
Then you become meeting eternity during intimate times, attaining thoughts, inspired omnisciently now. That's the other way to look at meditation, because you're now going to be inspired to do things that you could normally do. And here's another thing that it does over time.
Yeah.
You see, when you rush into the day without that contact,
Itself.
You're
Right?
starting.
you're just like frazzled.
All over
And
the
place.
traffic is a
place.
stress, and this is that. Because people think traffic is stressful. That's not true.
I
I take my
with you.
time to enjoy and sing to music.
Right? So nothing is
Watch a
stressful.
movie.
It is just your interpretation of the
Yeah.
event that determines if,
response.
Yeah.
that determines if it's stressful. But you cannot respond. You see, it sounds good theoretically, and it makes sense logically.
Yeah.
But until you have not matured, because it's not like you're learning something, but until you expand your awareness enough to where you actually have choice, because choice is a function of your expanded awareness. So if you're not expanded, you don't have the choice. So when something happens, you react. So then you have to assess how important are those outcomes, and then you have to look at the day and say, okay, you don't have to try to, because here's what people try to do. They try to fit God into their busy schedule. Whereas if you begin with God first and then wrap the schedule around it, it changes everything. So you
agree
have
with
to
that.
then decide how important it is for that contact. And that's where people don't know that the benefits of the contact are profound. I mean, if I didn't have that level of awareness, I'm not from Lagos. Just imagine the shock I got when I got here.
So you have to start practicing everything.
If I wasn't
you
practicing
do.
before I came here, man, I would traffic, what? Why am I here 3 hours?
There you
No,
go.
but it can be frustrating.
I'll give you another one, all right?
Yes.
So you understand the benefits. I was on Mushin Expressway one night. My son was sleeping in the back. Two of my partners was telling you that I've been in business with. I mentored a lot of people about Chris Stanley, right? So while in the car, I was on my phone at night. Didn't know I was not supposed to do that.
Were you
Mushy?
driving?
I was driving, but I had the phone. He was not driving as
So
in
then
driving.
not.
No, I wasn't driving as in driving. The road was blocked, so nobody was moving. So I was there just checking messages. I didn't know you need to shut that phone off, bro. It's dark. And then before I know it,
The knocker came.
smash!
You smashed the
The
window.
owners will come.
The window was smashed, and there was no reaction. There's none of that. You know, I looked into the gentleman's eyes, and what surface was praying, I prayed for him, I prayed for his generations unborn, I prayed for his ancestors.
And he listened.
No, I mean, I prayed. You know, he was asking for the phone. But I wasn't praying out like that.
Yeah.
I was just internally, he was asking for the phone, and I was looking into his eyes, and without knowing that he came to me for prayer. Because some people think he came for the phone, but he came for the prayer. Because because of the blockade in his mind and he couldn't see, he came to a being that could help him with prayer, as opposed to a machete or a gun or something else, you know, in reaction to him coming for prayer. Because he didn't come for a phone. Or you know, he's blind, right? His thoughts in his mind.
So that's how you were seeing him.
That's how I saw him, you know. So, but I couldn't see that without that expanded awareness, and that's years of meditation that allowed for the progressive expansion. So, when it comes to meditation, trust me, you need it more than you think.
But can you just tell us how the story ended? Did he leave with your
No,
phone?
Chidi gave. I dropped my phone between the seat, and my partner Chidi gave him her phone, and then he walked out.
Well, I was going to say, because we ran out of time.
He says, "We're gonna kill you. We're gonna kill you."
We ran out of time, but this is quite interesting because, I mean, this is the kind of conversation somebody needs to watch over and over and over again, because you need to get the nuggets. There's a lot going on here, but you need to be patient and listen to hear it. So, I mean, 2022 is here already. We can't say it's coming; it's already here.
It's here.
You know. So, what should we be doing in 2022?
Well,
that's it. So we can wrap up on that.
Yeah. So what you're doing in 2022 is determined by your plans, right? So you have to have clear goals, and the goals inform your steps. Because if you have a goal to lose 10 pounds, then do you have a gym membership? Or are you going to be walking every morning, or every 4 times a week, or 5 times a week? So the goal needs a plan. And then with the plan in place, then the plan needs steps of action. So the goal can't just be a goal with the dates, yes, but what are you doing in terms of your plan? What steps do you have towards achieving it? Because all the goal is a series of steps. And then once you get there, then fine, you know, that goal is now ticked off, boom, move on to the next one. So it's that simple. It's really.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you mentioned 7,000 goals in the beginning of this conversation. Well, how many thousand goals do you have written down? And again, like,
I have 580. I don't have 1,000 yet.
Wow.
So I have a way to go.
So wait, so how often do we need to keep writing? So
I write once a year.
As we achieve the goals, or
write goals, you said. Some people write them accumulatively. So you keep a small book in your hand, so it comes to mind, you write them in, right? And then some people do an annual goal setting. Like I do an annual goal setting, you know, every year for the last. Once I learned it, I practice that now consecutively.
And how successful has been your goal achievements?
A lot of them are checked off. A lot of them are checked off. So some of them even materialize without even realizing that.
If I may step in, short-term goals and long-term goals, which are better? Which is better, pardon me?
It's not better, it's needed. Both are needed. You know, if you have some horizon goals, so you have a sort of broader picture of what it is that you like to do, but we need to have some smaller goals, right? That break down these bigger goals.
Yeah.
Because when people only have these big horizon goals, they're not goals that we can. Oh, I want to be a billionaire.
They're ambiguous.
You know, that's just sounds good, right? What are you going to do in the next 30 days?
How do you move from point A to point B?
Yeah. So what are you going to do in the next 30 days? Not next year. Just this, because right now the year, if you started in December 1 with your 2022, you've gotten 13 months. As opposed to somebody who begins January 1.
So you're already ahead of that person.
Ahead of the year.
Wow.
Right. So,
Man, do you have any final question? I think we have a comment, Lacey.
All right.
Okay.
All right, let's see who we have here. Said, this is from Kennedy Jalingo, Taraba State. Sorry, Bobby Kennedy from Jalingo in Taraba State. He says, taking deliberate steps towards personal growth in total is all about mindset. Thinking positively, creating perfect foresight, desire to go the extra mile in one's desire for greatness, not minding what's going on in the country. God bless you at Ways. Your program was hooked to Shilon since last week, though.
Yeah, we were on a
Thank
break.
you, Bobby Ways. Thank you, Bobby Kennedy. I said Bobby Ways.
So what's this book about? Because I really like the sound of it, a book of new thoughts.
Yes.
It's really about self-awareness.
Okay.
It's done in a way that will allow for one to really kind of unlock areas. So it discusses 4 levels of human development. First, victim consciousness, seeing the world as outside in. Then manifest the consciousness, starting to look at life as inside out. And then God using us, which is a level where we open ourselves up to divine guidance.
Absolutely.
And then God has us.
So I look forward to, thank you for the book, by the way. I look forward to reading
I have
it.
2 more copies.
We are
Yes,
waiting
this
for
is it.
us.
All right, thank you,
We are waiting
ladies.
for
Thank you,
ours.
Manny. Thank you, Isi. Thank you so much, Dr. Harry. Now, before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment. And more importantly, we've started a giveaway to say thank you to you for believing in the Ways brand. This show was a giveaway, so go and watch it over and over and over and over again. So follow us at PlusTvAfrica. See all the goodies up for grab. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. What you do makes a difference. You have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. We'll see you guys tomorrow live at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.